Hello everyone, this is Aussies Elect and welcome to the final video before the big election live stream. This is going to be an interesting video because it's going to be in one take. The reason is I've actually run out of time and I do not have time to render this video and upload it before I start live streaming. So this is going to be all in one take. If I start like sort of stuttering or making mistakes, you're going to hear all of it. Let's see how we go. So I got 122 responses to the survey that I made I think about a week ago. And no surprise, the majority of my viewers are on the left. Plurality, Labour, 31%, then Greens on 27%, and then we got like left-wing minor parties on 20%, and then let's find Coalition. 6.6% of my viewers vote Coalition. So yeah, very much skewing to the left, this audience that I have. I actually, though, don't think that you guys were too biased, though, even though you do skew to the left, because the results that we are getting from this survey, I think they're pretty on point. I'll go through them. So I'll just go sort of down very slowly. Banks, you got Coalition winning there. Barton, Labour winning. Bennelong, Labour winning on sort of not as big of a margin. Barara, Coalition winning. Blaxland, Labour winning. Bradfield, the Independent winning. Clare, not a majority, but the Coalition winning. Chifley, Labour winning. Cook, Coalition winning. Cowper, the Independent winning. Cunningham, Labour. Dobell, Labour. Itamanara, Labour. Farrer, the Coalition. Fowler, the Independent. Gilmore, Coalition, 60% about. Greenler, Labour. Greenway, Labour. Hughes, Coalition. Hume, Coalition. Hunter, Labour. Let me see. Trump of the Patriots. How'd they go? Not very well. And One Nation, surprise, only 4%. Kingsford Smith, Labour. Coalition, 88.5% for Coalition on Lindsay. Lyon, Coalition, bit of a vote for the Independent there. MacArthur, Labour. McKellar, Independent. Macquarie, Labour. McMahon, Labour. Mitchell, Coalition. New England, Coalition. Newcastle, Labour. Page, Coalition. Parks, Coalition. Parramatta, Labour. Patterson, Labour. Reed, Labour. Richmond, Labour. Bit of a Greens vote here. Riverina, Coalition. Robertson, Labour. Shortland, Labour. Sydney, Labour. Warringah, Independent. Watson, Labour. Wentworth, Independent. Werriwa, Labour. Whitlam, Labour. Aston, Coalition. Ballarat, Labour. Bendigo, Labour. See how the Nationals did here. They got like 6.6%. Bruce, Labour. Corwell, Labour. Casey, Coalition. Chisholm, Labour. Cooper, Labour. Corangamite, Labour. Corio, Labour. Deakin, there we go. Michael Sukkar hanging on 60%. Dunkley, Labour. I mean, I know it's not this. I know you don't think the margin is going to be like this, but I'm talking about sort of the margin of your respondents. So yeah, I thought I had to specify that. Flinders, Coalition, Labour in Fraser, Labour in Gellibrand, Labour in Gippsland. Oh, Coalition in Gippsland, sorry. Independent in Goldstein, Labour in Gorton, Labour in Hawke, Labour in Holt, Labour in Hotham. Independent goes to the... Oh, Indi goes to the Independent. I love that the seat is called Indi and it's got an Independent. I love that. Isaacs goes to Labour, Jagger, Labour, Kooyong, Independent, Layla, Labour, Latrobe, Coalition, McNamara, Labour, Mallee, Coalition, Maribyrnong, Labour, McEwen goes to Labour, Melbourne, Greens, Menzies, Coalition, Monash, wow, really close one, but Coalition takes that one. Nichols, Coalition, Scullin, Labour, Wannon, giving it to Alex Dyson. Wills, this is like the closest one. 50% Greens, 49.2% Labour, and then somebody's memeing and put Coalition. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of memers in this survey, but yeah, that's really, really close. Really, really. I saw this earlier in the week too, and I think Labour was slightly ahead. So the Greens have actually, yeah, there's actually a bit of bullish on the Greens, which I didn't expect because I thought like sort of the Greens have reduced their chances there, but maybe you guys don't think that. I don't know. Interesting. Blair, Labour. Bonner, Coalition. Bowman, Coalition. Brisbane, but you think Labour's going to pick this one. So there's like a swapperoo between Wills and Brisbane. Coalition on Capricornia, Dorson Coalition, Dixon Coalition, Fadden Coalition, Fairfax Coalition, Fisher Coalition, Flynn Coalition, Ford Coalition, Griffith, Greens, Groom Coalition. Let's see who this is. Susie Holt, right? 9%. Herbert Coalition, Hinkler Coalition, Kennedy, Cadder, of course, Leichhardt Coalition, Lilly, Labour, Longman Coalition, Maranoa Coalition, McPherson Coalition, Moncrief Coalition, Morton, Labour, Oxley Labour, Petrie Coalition, Rankin Labour, Ryan, Greens, Wide Bay Coalition, Wright Coalition, Brand Labour, Bullwinkle going to Labour, some Nats 8%, and then Liberal 28.7%. Burt Labour, Canning Coalition, Cowan Labour, Curtin, Kate Cheney, Durack Coalition, Forest. Bit of a sort of an interesting one here. You got like a bunch of different options. But yeah, Coalition, Fremantle, Labour. I got Fremantle twice, by the way, but it has a pretty similar result. So yeah, I forgot to delete that. I know a couple of people told me about that. Hasluck, Labour, Moore, very close one, but the Coalition nabbing that one. O'Connor, Coalition, Pearce, Labour, Perth, Labour, Swan, Labour, Tangney, Labour, Adelaide, Labour, Barker, Coalition, Boothby, Labour, Grey, Coalition, Hindmarsh, Labour, Kingston, Labour, Macon, Labour, Mayo, Centre Alliance, Spence, Labour, Sturt, Labour, Bass, Coalition, Braddon, Coalition, Clark, Independent, Franklin, Labour, Lyons, Labour, Bean, Labour, Canberra, Labour, and Fenner, Labour. And as for, Lingiari, Labour, and Solomon, Labour. As for the Senate, so you've got here that the Coalition will win a plurality, but it's not a majority. You've got obviously One Nation here and Labour on 13.8%. So yeah, sort of more higher expectations for the Coalition than I expected. But I think this, obviously the survey is pretty safe. We get pretty safe responses, but we do get legalized cannabis. I think there's some hopium here, some meme hopium here that Fiona Patton will get a seat. 25.7%. That's actually higher than One Nation at 16.8%, and the Coalition are on 42.5%. Probably people think, because they're first on the ballot and stuff. This one pretty clear. Labour and One Nation in Queensland, which is a bit of a surprise. Labour and Coalition. Let's see. Number 5, Coalition, One Nation. I want to see where's Labour and Rennick, and then Coalition Rennick. So yeah, people not very bullish on Rennick there. Labour has the plurality in WA. Again, One Nation sort of trailing there, but One Nation does have the plurality in SA. So people are most sure about One Nation picking up a seat in SA, and yeah, Labour on like 24%. And people pretty sure about Jackie Lambie Network in Tasmania. And then the ACT winner, David Pocock on Labour. Yep, pretty clear there. So this is the final House map, according to you guys. And I think this is a pretty fine prediction. Yeah, there's nothing uncontroversial about any of these results. I think, like, maybe giving Wills to the Greens is probably the most controversial thing here. But, like, you have like these sort of outer suburban marginals, Patterson, McEwen, Bullwinkle staying with Labour, which is interesting. There's sort of, I think, a bit of a bias towards the status quo, but you did give Sturt to Labour. I guess that one is the most sure. And yeah, you guys really do think that Labour are going to win in Brisbane. But yeah, I think these are, it's a decent result for independents, but you did not give independents in Clare or Monash or anywhere else for that matter. I just want to compare these results to some of the other websites. So First Preference, I'll actually put it in the description this time when I upload the video. I'm sorry to the person who runs this website that I didn't put it in the description as soon as I uploaded the video. I forgot. I apologize. But I will say that the result very, very similar to the average for First Preference. Maybe slightly more bullish on independents than this website. And about the same for the Coalition, slightly less bullish on Labour. And then on AE forecasts, very similar result again. So let me see here. So this is, I think 55 for the Coalition. Yeah. So this is 56. again, slightly more bullish on the crossbench, the predictions. I think there's some hopium there. I think that's the hopium tax or something like that. You got like two more independents and one more green. But yeah, Labour right on the money for almost both of these. So yeah, I can absolutely see a result like this. Yeah, Labour 77. I was a little bit sort of like pessimistic about them just because I think like maybe the polls are sort of overrating Labour's chances by a little bit. But yeah, would not be surprised if we get a result of Labour 77, Coalition 55. It does sound about right. It's very it's very boring though. It's very status quo. Look how status quo this result is. Like, sure, you have independents couple picking up a couple of seats, but guys, this is a really boring result. I have to say, it's a really boring result. Like, but I mean, this is what you expect when you have like an average of all these people, taking a survey. Like, you will get like a pretty sort of generic result. But you do have the Greens winning wheels, which is kind of spicy, I think, honestly. So that's cool. So I would do sports bet, but I kind of ran out of time, like looking at how the betting markets are sort of seeing things. But I think it's pretty similar to this. I think I saw that Labour are like still the favorites in like uh Gilmore, and maybe not the favorites in Sturt. I think obviously there's sort of like a preference for incumbents, really, but it's pretty similar to this, other than that. So I'm not going to go over that because I just, yeah, as I said, I ran out of time. But obviously the betting markets, like a lot of the seats have changed in the last couple of weeks. Like I don't know, I like McHugh and Patterson. I think Bullwinkle have come in a lot. I'm not sure who the favorite is in Bullwinkle at the moment, but yeah, they definitely come in a lot of those odds and a lot of those seats. And I think if you look at all the seats on the betting market, they're expecting a Labour majority. So the last thing I want to do is my Q&A, just answering these questions. I didn't get that many, but that's okay, really, because sort of I was packing a lot into this video, so, and I didn't expect it to get that many questions. I might do another Q&A, another part. Who in Australian politics do you feel is the most personally inspired by? This is going to be a weird take. The first person who comes to mind is Glenn Drury, the preference whisperer, just because the way he sort of crushed the major parties time and time again. I really admire that and use the system against them. I really admire that. I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. I think it's democracy. Some people call him like a cheater or like a cynic or something like that. I think it's great. How he's helped a bunch of like small parties get into power. Some of them a bit kooky, some of them pretty all right. I think he's done a good service to the country, and he's done it. Off the a pretty. I mean, it's grassroots. Obviously, it's not like big money or something going into it. It's just off sort of his own genius. So, it's a weird answer, but yeah, that's the first person who comes to mind. You get a large order of chippies from a local place, and you are asked if you want chicken salt or plain salt for your chippies. Which one do you go for? I'm going to go for chicken salt. I know it has MSG. It's meant to be really bad for you, but yeah, I like stuff that's bad for me. You mentioned once that you used to follow the Citizens Party newsletters. Are you a former LaRouche by any chance? No, I didn't follow their newsletters. I followed their YouTube channel, and yeah, LaRouche. No, that stuff. It does sound a bit crazy. Like, I can be a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not sure what to think about some of the stuff that they're saying about that. But generally, in their videos, they talk most of the time a lot of sense. Like they're very sort of anti U.S. Foreign policy, like being close to the U.S., which I think is pretty fair, especially these days. They're pretty pro like intervention into sort of the banking system and keeping cash. Lots of good things. It's just that they probably have. I think they have some wacky, beliefs as well. But I used to watch their videos just because there wasn't that much content online, politics content from like small parties like that. I used to find small parties really fascinating. Who's your favorite coalition candidate, MP senator, and who's your most hated coalition MP senator? And same for Labor, favorite and most hated. So my favorite coalition candidate, MP senator, I don't like most of them. Bridget Archer's a moderate, but I think the fact that she sort of votes for a lot of the coalition's like economic policies makes me not like her. So it makes me just feel like she's sort of just doing that sort of crossing the floor for sort of clout or something. I mean that's a big call. I probably shouldn't say that. That's probably not right. But like I just think like if you're crossing the floor on like social issues, but you're still like siding with the coalition on like economic issues, like are you really that much better than them? So I saw Kevin Hogan on the news, and I feel like he talks sense. Like again, he just votes with the coalition, I think, all the time. But he seems like a nice guy, so I'm going to say him. And obviously, my most hated is Michael Sukkar because I think he is responsible for why we have such high house prices right now. He did some bullshit policies during the pandemic. Favorite Labour candidate, MP senator. Uh, I just think they're all like a bunch of careerists. So it's really difficult for me to say who my favorite is. Like, I don't know, maybe like Ed Husick. He seems like a nice enough guy. Oh, Chris Bowen really annoys like anti-renewable people, so I'll go with him. I'll go with Chris Bowen. He's a bit of an idiot. I think like he did like screw up when he was treasurer, oh shadow treasurer in the 2019 election. I think he wasn't the best performer, but he does really annoy anti-renewable people, and for that reason I like him. And most hated Labour candidate, MP senator. Um, maybe probably I mean probably just Claire O'Neill because I just think she just completely sells out like people who are stressed about the high housing crisis. I think she's just a hack, and she says she wants house prices to rise. So that's the person who first jumps to mind. But there's a lot of people. Oh, I don't like Tony. I don't really like Tony Burke either. I mean, I think he's fought pretty strongly for some industrial relations stuff, but I don't know. It just seems kind of weak for me, and I don't like it how he was part of the club that knifed Rudd as well. Will electoral reform be on the table? Should independents and minor parties gain more seats? Is there a specific kind of STV that you prefer? What are the chances of Victoria reforming its upper house before the next state election? So many questions, Jesus. On the table, I think Albanese does plan to increase the size of the House and Senate eventually. Maybe not this term, but maybe the next term. I think they're going to try if there is a minority government to reform some of those donation policies that the major parties passed before the election because there is kind of bullshit. It does kind of screw independence, as far as from what I can tell. And specific kind of STV that you prefer. I'm not nerdy enough to go into like the specifics of a particular kind of STV. I think the system that we have currently in the Senate is fine. I'm not like a huge fan of like Robson rotation. I don't really think it's necessary. We sort of have like a pseudo party list system at the moment, and I think it's reasonable. I do think there's a case to getting rid of above the line voting, but I do understand why we have it. It does make it sort of easier for voters. And obviously, I prefer the dupe quota to the hair quota. What are the chances of the Victoria reforming up? Probably unlikely because Labor Party seems to have no interest in doing it. But maybe if we get sort of like some kind of like I don't know more conservative balance of power in the upper house next election, there might be a chance. But I think the coalition ideally wants to keep the regions, which like a lot of my minor parties won't be happy about. Maybe the Labour Party will be happy about that. I don't know. I will do a video on that, by the way. I did look at that a couple of months ago. Can you just call it for Labour already, please? I mean, I already done that since this stream. I already called it for Labour in my last prediction. Like, I still think Labour's going to win. I don't think the coalition really has much of a chance. Would you like to see Australia adopt a proportional system for the House of Reps? If so, would you prefer an STV with multi-member seat system or an MMP system like New Zealand or Germany? I've already done a video on this of my preferred system. There probably would be 240 seats in the lower house and 120 seats in the upper house. Probably, I did only 3 senators for the territories in that video, but I think they deserve 6 each. So they're like a third of the states. What do you think about Dorson and Kennedy? They're not going to the coalition. They probably will. Sorry, they're not going to One Nation. Though I don't even know if One Nation will make the 2 candidate. Oh, what am I talking about? Kennedy is Bob Katter. Probably, yeah. So Dorson, I don't know if the One Nation will make 2 the candidate preferred. I know their vote will go up. Kennedy, I think when Bob Katter retires, his son will take over there, and the Kennedy seat will remain as like a Katter stronghold. Do you think there's a world where LNP can get into government in a minority? Teals did vote their way in parliament on two seats where I think the LNP goes. Teals. Wait, how many needs to be able to have Teals independents get them across the line? Oh, so I said earlier that I think like the coalition really need like 3 more seats than Labor to have a mandate. Maybe it could be on really only 2 to have a mandate to form government. Um, as for yeah, I don't think at this point the coalition are going to get a minority. There was like a funny, wacky, like sort of MRP site that was released yesterday. I think it's called like Poll Data or something like that, which predicts that the coalition will get like 70 seats and Labor 80. Sorry, Labor 68. I don't think that's happening. I don't think that's happening. Why do you think Australia is increasingly voting for third party? Because the major parties suck. They're really cynical and they only focus on winning elections. They don't focus on like actual good policy. Although there's no minor party that I really 100% agree with, or even like sort of 85%. I think like there's I have my own sort of niche politically. Considering a large portion of your viewership base votes Labor, what impact do you think Friendly Geordies has on increasing interest in Aussie politics? He's had a great interest in increasing interest in Aussie politics, and of course, sort of getting a lot of Zoomers to vote for the Labor Party, probably millennials as well. Yeah, he's I don't know if he's probably not paid by the Labor Party. They seem to sort of distance themselves from him a little bit, I think. But yeah, he's had a massive influence, and he's probably a lot of the reason that more people, younger people, aren't voting Greens at this point. Um, yep, thanks for telling me about that. Am I a swing voter? Who do you normally put in second, third spot on the ballot? There was a time that I did vote for the coalition. So I guess you could say I'm a swing voter, but I've been a quote unquote progressive for quite a long time. So I probably am not a swing voter. Like, I don't know. I preference Labor, all recent elections over coalition. Favorite food? My mum's spaghetti bolognese. It's really, really good. I don't think there's a question in this. Neither in this. This is sort of a question, but yeah, no, I just made people have to fill out all the seats. So yeah, thanks for that. Probably would have got more responses if I didn't make people do that, but it meant that it was complete. Correlation of preferred PM polls and personal approvals to election results. Always the case. I might do a video on that later on. Right-wing person, centralist, left-wing person, or someone who tends to change around. I think I'm sort of, in the grand scheme of things, center-left, really, but I do have some sort of niche opinions. But I think generally it's pretty progressive. I think most of my opinions are pretty progressive. Became a candidate for a seat. What seat would I run in? Which policies would you put forward and why? Maybe Spence in SA. I did used to live in South Australia, and it's like a pretty like low income seat. I think a lot of those people have been swayed by the immigration argument, but I think there's a case to be made to sort of convince people that immigration isn't sort of like the boogeyman that a lot of people on the right um, present that it is. And somebody's told me this, and this is the guy who showed me the First Preference website. So yeah, really cool website. Daniel Friege Eam 9502. Really cool website. You're obviously a lot smarter than I am. I just sort of talk on YouTube. And yeah, I don't remember swearing in this video, but I do swear. I put in like a swear once in a while in my videos. Like, I don't know if it affects like monetization or whatever, but yeah, like I try to avoid being too much of a point. I try to sort of save it for like when it has the most impact. When I say like things like fuck Michael Sukar, it has more impact because I rarely swear. But yeah, I'm not gonna let sort of YouTube monetization stop me from having a potty mouth when I need to. So you've seen also some of my sort of recently watched content here. So enjoy that, everyone. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody. And next time I will be doing a live stream for the election. So please, everyone, come to the live stream, have a watch, have a drink or two. I don't know, banter with us. I'm gonna probably drink if I could have time to get alcohol. I don't know if I even have time to do that at this point. And yeah, it's been really fun covering this election. Also really stressful because I really ran out of time making videos. I left everything to the last minute. So goodbye, everyone.